Today on Rooted, we're talking cocktails with Greg Best, world-renowned mixologist and owner of the much-celebrated Ticonderoga Club in Atlanta, Georgia. And right now, we're talking old fashions. This is one of my favorite cocktails of all time. This is the one that I like coasting into the evening with. You know, you've had a few other things, and now it's time to settle into the old-fashioned.
It's like putting on the comfy clothes after a day of work.
No doubt. Well, Greg, what is an old-fashioned? We know that it's a drink based on brown liquor, bourbon.
That's right.
But what is it?
That's a good question. The old-fashioned is in itself not a cocktail. It's a way of making a cocktail. So the old-fashioned essentially is referencing an old-fashioned way of making a drink, which was to simply use sugars, bitters, and something bold, like something spirituous, right? More often than not, rum or brandy or whiskey. If you're talking about traditional old fashions,
Gotcha, yeah.
right? So, what is it now, though? You know, through the past 30, 40 years, it's kind of been widely accepted and appreciated as a bourbon or rye whiskey based drink. Again, bitters, sugar, fruit. So let's go ahead and make one and talk through the different components. Sure. There are a number of schools of thought that call for sugar cubes or spoonfuls of sugar. That all works fine. It really just depends on how much time you have to get a proper dilution of the sugar. We're used to making them here at the bar very quickly because we make as you know, a lot of them, right? So we're going to use a rich cane sugar syrup here. And I'm just going to use a standard liquid teaspoon of that into my old-fashioned glass, named such because this kind of short, wide, stubby glass would have been traditionally the glass that a drink like this was made and served in.
So is the sugar primarily to balance out the bitters?
Correct. You know, the end to soften the blow of the spirit, right? So historically speaking, punch was basically the original cocktail. A big bowl with a bunch of booze in it. And what did you do to that booze? You had to make it palatable. So you diluted it and you added flavoring agents, which were citruses and citrus juices. And then the bitters were kind of like the salt and pepper. They added savory elements and kind of threaded the needle, so to speak. So the sugar does work against the bitters, but also softens the spirit. Next, I'm going to take an orange and cut a disc right off the end, just about large enough to sit into the bottom of that glass. I'm going to fold that so a little of that citrus oil comes out. I'm going to drop that into the sugar there. And then I'm going to use our aromatic bitters. Again, aromatic bitters, kind of like the salt and pepper of the cocktail world. We're going to use two of the oldest styles of bitters in this cocktail today. Angostura, coming from Trinidad and Tobago, about 5 dashes of that. This is a very heady, like almost cooking spice characteristic to it.
Yeah, that's
mace and clove. And then another bitters that comes from New Orleans, actually, Peychaud. This is a brandy-based bitters. This has more of a dried cherry anise characteristic to it. We're just going to do 2 dashes of that.
Greg, is the order of the ingredients, is that important in making this cocktail?
It is for us as professional bartenders, and I guess translates at home for the home bartender. You always want to start with your inexpensive ingredients first. If you get called away or if you make a mistake, you're not losing all of your high dollar spirit. So we start with the smaller cost ingredients first. In this case, though, we're basically creating a flavor bomb. So not only are we starting with the inexpensive ingredients, but we're making the base that the whiskey is going to join. So I've got a little club soda here, and I'm just going to pop it a little bit. You don't need to use club soda. You can use filtered water as well. I like the soda, though, because it the carbonation helps bring that citrus oil and sugar together. With my muddler, I'm just going to gently press down on that orange peel. You can see it starting to froth up like a science fair volcano. That's a good sign. That means that everything's integrating nicely there. And now I'm going to add 4 or 5 pretty sizable ice cubes. This is a whiskey-based drink. Like we talked about, it's sophisticated. You want to keep the sophistication. You don't want it to dilute too quickly. So I'm using good, dense ice to safeguard against that. You can get rubber molds for your freezer at home.
I have some of those.
Yeah.
With the really big cubes.
Yeah, exactly. You can make them ahead of time, put them in Ziploc bags. That's what I do. But you just want a really good quality ice cube, not the stuff that your freezer is already making.
So, Greg, not to go down a rabbit trail of ice cubes,
Please
but
do.
some mixologists, of course, are triple boiling water to have these cubes that are like
Crystal
clear as
clear.
glass. What are your thoughts on that?
So it does work. It's time consuming. It is a fun thing to do. I mean, here's the fact of the matter. Ice absolutely is an ingredient in your drink.
Sure it is.
And bad ice will carry bad flavors into your cocktail. So the cleaner the ice, the better for the cocktail, theoretically speaking.
Sure.
I myself boil water once. I will fill half the ice tray, freeze it, take it out, and I don't reboil the water, but I do bring it up to warm again and pour it the rest of the way on the ice tray, and that will slow the freezing process, and that's really what you're trying to do. You want all of the impurities to evaporate in condensation from the ice, right? And that's what leaves you with a clear cube. So you don't need to boil it a million times, but take your time with it. You'll get better ice.
Yeah, the cloudiness in ice oftentimes is trapped oxygen that's in the water.
That's right.
And so boiling it is just like in beer making, it's how we deoxygenate the water.
Exactly.
Is by boiling it if we're going to do like...
And letting all of those friends away.
That's right, all the undesirables.
So I'm going to use a barrel strength rye whiskey here. So this is stout stuff, you know. You can find whiskeys upwards of 90, 100, 110 proof. It's really just a stylistic preference for you as the consumer. I like it to have a little more body in it because this drink is going to be sitting on ice. It's going to be slowly diluting. That will in turn make the drink more gentle and sweeter for the life of it. But if you start with a very low proof whiskey, it will taste kind of thin by about halfway through its.
And one of the wonderful things about an old fashioned, it's the same thing I love about a Negroni, is that this is a really, really intense drink. And so it's a drink that requires that you sip it and enjoy it slowly.
Take your time, yeah. Take your time and appreciate its evolution, because a drink that sits on ice is constantly changing.
Right.
And so your first sip will taste very different from your last sip, and you should enjoy them both with equal excitement.
Yeah,
One more cube of ice. You notice I've stirred that peel up so that there's nothing trapped under it. Everything is nicely integrated. Nice. Now the orange sat in those bitters and sugar, so it's already been tempered. We want to add a layer of fresh aromatics, and that's going to be with a little peel of lemon. So again, we're going to kind of crease that peel so all the essential oil comes out, and then we're going to rub that oil around the outside of the glass, and then we're just going to dunk it in. And
I love the attention to detail. It's the aromatics, the visuals of it, and the way that the drink, you know, works from start to finish. It's truly art.
A cocktail really is a celebration of everything. It's a celebration of the ingredients you're using. It's a celebration of the history behind it. It's a celebration of making something for yourself or for another person very dear to you that is meant to be like a little package that you're going to unravel and enjoy, right? So taking your time with cocktails is probably one of the most significant tips that I could give someone.
Absolutely.
But enjoy.
Cheers. It's a
Cheers to
little
you.
package of joy here.
Yeah.
That's just outstanding.
Is it worth Christmas?
Oh, yeah. This is an everyday thing, you know?
Awesome.
It should be. Cheers.
Enjoy.
To the
Cheers.
great, mighty old fashioned.